clap.
네, 안녕하세요. 영화평론가 정지혜입니다. 제10회 스웨덴영화제 관객 여러분 반갑습니다. 오늘은 상영작 런우예런을 연출한 감독 헨릭 슈페르트, 그리고 주연 배우이자 이 영화의 각본을 연출하고 또 음악 작업을 함께한 우에 브란델리우스, 이 두 분을 모시고 이야기를 나눠보겠습니다. 안녕하세요.
Hello everyone at the film festival in Seoul. My name is Henrik Schyffert.
And my name is Uje Brandelius.
And we've made this movie called 런우예런. I'm the director and he's the star.
두 분 지금 어디 계세요? 지금 이른 아침인 걸로 알고 있는데.
Right now we're in Stockholm. We're in my apartment. Uje doesn't live here. He took a cab here. It's 8:30 in the morning.
It's not very early. It's
all right.
it's all right.
먼저 이번 영화로 굉장히 좋은 소식을 들었습니다. 지난해 예테보리 국제영화제에서 국제 비평가 협회상이랑 또 북유럽 영화 관객상을 받으셨고요. 또 스웨덴 영화 협회가 주는 불드바게상에 올해 최고의 영화와 각본상 또 주연 배우상 3관왕을 차지하셨어요. 굉장히 기쁜 소식인데 먼저 축하드립니다.
Tack.
Thank you.
Tack så hemskt mycket.
Tack, tack.
Tack.
좀 감회가 남다르실 것 같아요. 무엇보다 제가 알기로는 감독님의 첫 번째 장편, 데뷔작으로 알고 있는데요. 워낙 배우로, 음악가로, 또 라디오 DJ로, 또 코미디 협회의 어떤 성원으로 굉장히 활발하게 활동을 하시는데 연출까지 맡아서 하게 되셨습니다. 어떤 좀 소회가 있으실지 먼저 좀 들어보고 싶습니다.
I've always spent most of my life not really knowing what I was going to grow up to do. So I've been jumping around. Mostly I've been a comedian, a stand-up comedian and a comedian. That's been my main job. But I have also directed TV shorts and sketches and videos all through my life. And I always wanted to make a feature movie. So though this is my first feature movie, I have been directing for the last 20 years. At least bits of it. So for me it feels organic.
또 우리 우예 배우님 배우상을 수상하셨습니다. 워낙 뮤지션으로 활발히 활동하시는 걸로 알고 있고 또 사실 이 영화를 보신 관객분들은 아시겠지만 뮤지션 역할을 소화했고 또 이것이 자전적인 이야기였던 것으로 알고 있는데요. 이 배우상을 수상한 어떤 소감을 좀 들어보고 싶습니다.
It was quite absurd that I got this award, but I'm very happy, of course. But in the movie, I play myself, and well, when I wrote the script, I thought that would be quite easy to play myself because I am myself. But it turned out to be quite difficult because you have to act. In a movie, it's not a documentary. This is a feature film, so you have to act. And you have to read the lines that you have written. So it was quite difficult, and I had to step up to get this work. But it seems that I made a quite good job because I got this award for Best Swedish Actor 2020.
네, 스웨덴 최고 배우님과 지금 인터뷰를 하고 있습니다.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be. You should be honored. It's a privilege.
말씀해 주셨지만 사실 이 영화는 우예 배우님의 자전적인 이야기에서 출발을 한 것으로 알고 있습니다. 사실 굉장히 좀 궁금했어요. 어떻게 이 스토리를 영화로 만들게 됐을까? 제가 조금 자료를 찾아보니까 원래 이제 뮤지션으로 활동하시면서 솔로 앨범으로 스프링 우에 스프링이라는 작업을 하셨고 동명의 이름의 어떤 연극 공연을 2016년도부터 진행을 하셨던 걸로 알고 있습니다. 그리고 또 2017년도에는 동명의 이름의 라디오 연극을 만들어서 또 방영을 하기도 했었는데요. 영화화를 해야 되겠다라고 결심했던 계기가 좀 궁금합니다. 우예 배우님께서 답을 먼저 해주셔도 좋고요. 또 감독님께서 이것을 연출하겠다라고 결심한 계기도 같이 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다. 예.
Well, the short answer is that we got an opportunity to make a movie, and that's why we did it. The play was a great success, and the film company interested in making a movie, so we did. That's a short answer. And of course, I've always dreamt of making a movie and being in a movie. So I got this opportunity, and I took it. And I asked Henrik to direct it.
I've always been a big fan of Uje and his music, and I loved the play that they did. So when they said they were going to make a movie, I jumped at the chance to do it. I said, I'm the only director in the world who can do this and make it justice. It was a stroke of luck as well. Everyone was available, everyone wanted to do the same thing. The planets were aligned.
나만이 이 영화를 만들 수 있다, 잘 만들 자신이 있다라고 감독님께서 말씀을 해주셨는데요. 그만큼 우예 뮤지션, 우예의 팬으로서 그 팬심도 있으셨을 것 같고, 좀 궁금한 것은 두 분이 그런 팬의 어떤 관계가 아니라 사적으로 아니면 그 전부터 어떤 창작자로서 교류가 있으셨는지도 좀 궁금합니다. 어떤 면에 이렇게 내가 이 사람의 영화라면 자신 있게 만들어 볼만하다라고 생각하셨는지 조금 더 들어보고 싶습니다.
Stockholm is a very small city compared to Seoul. It's a very, very tiny. For you, it would be like a small village up in the mountains. So if you work within the cultural field in Stockholm, you will know one another. So we've met a couple of times through the years, and I was a fan, and we had mutual friends. But the world that Uje presented in the play and in the script and in the movie is a world that I knew. I've lived in that world. So for me, it felt obvious that I was going to do it.
반대로 우예 배우님이 본 헨릭 감독님의 장점, 매력, 어떤 연출의 힘은 어떤 것일지 좀 궁금합니다. 들어보고 싶습니다.
Well, I knew he mastered both comedy and tragedy, and this film that is what this film is all about. It's laughter and it's crying, and I know that Henrik had made a lot of comedy, but in the late years he had switched over to tragedy. Well, not tragedy, but being a bit more serious and wanting to tell real things, and that suited this film very well. And I also knew that he was a very what's the word? A very hardworking cultural worker. And that was also what we needed.
And cheap. I was very cheap.
And he's very good with words. And the lines in this movie are my babies. And I'm not at all interested in pictures and in costumes. But I'm very interested in words. And I knew that he was into words as well.
정말 말씀만 들어도 최고의 파트너십이었을 것만 같습니다. 충분히 짐작이 됩니다.
Well,
that's true.
Thank you very much.
We are not very similar, but I think we're perfect for each other.
서로 좀 다른 면모가 시너지를 냈던 것 같네요.
Well, hopefully. I mean, when you work together with someone, you want your partner to know things that you don't know, and you want to be able to contribute things that they might not know in order for you to become the strongest team possible. And also, we have both been in groups. He's been in a rock band, I've been in comedy groups, and we're quite good at knowing when to push and when to hold back, and when to let the other one forward, and when to take place yourself and step forward, which is a very the most complicated ingredient of a partnership. But we're both quite good at that, I think. That was a major thing.
우예 배우님께 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다. 그 본인의 그 자전적인 이야기, 뮤지션으로서 창작 활동을 열심히 해 오시다가 그 파킨슨병을 앓게 되면서 겪게 된 어떤 뭐 내적인 어떤 갈등, 또 주변 사람들과의 관계의 어떤 변화 이런 것들을 창작으로 또 이어서 만들어 오셨는데요. 그 당시의 어떤 이야기를 조금 여쭤볼 수 있을까요? 그러니까 어떤 파킨슨이라는 것을 알았을 때 거기에 어떤 좌절하거나 거기에 함몰되어 있기보다는 또 창작이라는 작업으로 이어서 계속해서 열정적으로 이 작업들을 내놓고 있는 지금 모습이 굉장히 좀 놀랍기도 하고 용기라는 생각도 들어서요. 그 부분에 대해서 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
Well, I'm not sure I turned it into a positive energy, more of a raging energy. I was furious and I was sad, and that gave me energy. And I decided to do things that I wanted to do all my life, and I did them. So I would say the disease made me do things faster than I would have done otherwise. And also it made me be a bit less self-critic and do things that I might not earlier think that I would be able to do, or well, yeah, and that's what the disease made to me.
이 영화가 극영화로 만들어졌습니다. 다큐멘터리가 아니라 극의 형식을 빌려서 작업을 하게 된 이유가 좀 궁금한데요. 사실 다큐멘터리와 극이라는 게 뭐 굉장히 장르적으로 다르기도 해서 본인의 이야기를 극이라는 장치를 통해서 전달을 했을 때 더 효과적이라고 판단하신 이유가 있으실 것 같습니다.
The short answer is that a feature film is much more effective. Well, actually, I think the reason is that I wanted to have control over what I say and how I say it, and you can't have that in a documentary. In a documentary, you have to well, you can say whatever you want, and then hopefully it becomes a movie that someone wants to see. But in this feature film, we could pick exactly what we would like to show and would like to say.
그러면 뭐 두 분께 다 궁금합니다. 애초부터 이 극중 우예 역할을 우예 배우님께서 하기로 마음을 먹으셨던 것인지, 아니면 어떤 논의 과정 속에서 뭐 다른 배우분을 섭외를 하려고 하는 어떤 과정들이 좀 있으셨는지 좀 궁금한데요. 사실 본인이 본인의 이야기 어떤 주인공을 한다라는 것은 이 각본을 쓰고 또 뭐 음악 작업을 하시고 또 연출하는 것과는 좀 또 다른 어떤 결심이 필요했던 부분일 거라는 생각에 드리는 질문입니다.
I always thought that the main character would be played by myself. That was my intention, but I also knew that it might be the case that it turned out that I was too bad, and then I would have lived with that and let another actor play me. But when I wrote the script, I had myself in mind, so to speak.
It's when you play yourself, you have to have the ability to make fun of yourself and not take yourself too seriously, because otherwise you will protect the character too much. The character needs to be a bit of an asshole sometimes for the film to work. And Uye was
the perfect asshole.
He was the perfect asshole, but he could do that. He had no problem with making fun of himself or not taking himself too seriously, which made this work. Otherwise, it wouldn't have worked. If he was too pretentious, it wouldn't have worked.
감독님께 좀 여쭤보고 싶습니다. 이 우예라는 극중 인물이 너무 어떤 본인의 상황에 좌절하거나 거기에 시리를 느끼고 않으면서도 이 상황을 현명하게 어떤 통찰과 특히 유머러스하게 헤쳐나가는 그런 과정이 이 영화의 굉장히 큰 어떤 미덕이 아닐까 싶은데요. 그만큼 어떤 인물의 감정선이랄까요? 어떤 그 수위를 조절하는 부분이 굉장히 좀 주요했을 것 같습니다. 감독님께서 연출하시면서 그 부분에 대해서 좀 어떤 고민을 하고 조율해 나가셨는지 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
One of the most important things that we talked about was that you don't have to show anything. If you see the character getting hit with the announcement like that the doctor says, everyone has their own idea of how that would feel. So we felt that we don't have to show anything because you as a viewer will feel it. We don't have to tell you what to feel. That was a main thing. Also that the thing that Uya, the character, is struggling with is when and where to admit to himself that he has got this disease, and we figured we push that as far back as we can. Also the further towards the end, the better, to suppress the emotions. So I think suppressing emotions, that was the main thing. Not if you feel anything, don't show it. That was the main goal, because you as an audience your perception will be stronger than him showing it, if that makes any sense.
특히 영화가 그 파킨슨을 처음 알게 된 우예가 처음 그 의사에게 파킨슨병이 있다라는 것을 듣게 된 그 시기부터 최종적으로 가족에게 본인의 병을 이야기하게 되는 그 시기까지 이 기간을 드라마로 만든 것 같습니다. 특별히 이 시간을 주목하신 이유가 있으신지 좀 듣고 싶습니다.
Whenever you make a movie or a TV series or write a book or whatever, you have to find the ins and out of the time that is the most interesting. So we figured the time from if you get if someone tells you have this kind of a disease or something really big happens in your life, the moment just after that, when you start realizing that this is for real, that was like for us the most important. But that's what we wanted to portray, and also that we wanted to go to see how the people around Uya reacts, that they sense something's wrong, but they can't really put their finger on it. That seemed very interesting to us, instead of just going out and telling everyone that this is the disease and this is what's happening. So the insecurity, we were looking for that. This is like the most insecure time period. That was the most interesting for us.
그 영화 속의 음악에 대해서도 좀 궁금한데요. 이 영화에서 음악은 뭐 어떤 배경 백그라운드 정도로 들어와 있는 게 아니라 우예의 정말 마음의 표현, 마음의 창고 같은 그런 인상이 듭니다. 이 음악을 좀 어떻게 활용해서 써야 되겠다라고 두 분이 좀 논의하셨는지 궁금하고요. 그 닥터 코스모스라는 팝밴드, 실제로 우예님이 활동하고 있는 팝밴드가 영화 속에도 등장을 하는 것 같습니다. 좀 그런 에피소드들도 있다면 관객분들에게 좀 소개를 부탁드리겠습니다.
The first question about the music and how we used it, it was a long discussion of how we could use the songs in the movie, and but in the play I used a lot of songs. In the movie we use also songs, but not so many. But it was when I wrote the script, I was always thinking that the songs would play a part, and but we had some difficulties solving it picture-wise. I mean, how would we? How could we film this and make it interesting? Because, well, at least myself, I'm not a very big fan of musicals. when the film sort of stops and the music takes over and nothing happens. So we wanted things to happen although the music is playing, and that was a challenge. And your other question about Dr. Cosmos, if something fun or interesting happened, no, it didn't.
여전히 닥터 코스모스 활동을 하고 계시는 건가요?
Well, we do exist as a band, but we haven't played live for a couple of years. So we made a record, I think, was in 2018. That was the last you've heard from us, and I don't know if we're going to do something in the future. Maybe. We are still a band, but we're not very active.
감독님도 락밴드 웨일이라는 락밴드 기타리스트로 활동하셨던 걸로 알고 있는데 맞나요?
Yes, it is true, but it was 20 years ago and we were not very good. So I feel rather embarrassed talking about it.
하지만 음악 애호가로서 누구보다 이번 그 우예의 이야기에 공감을 많이 하셨을 것 같습니다.
I didn't mention that before, but that was also a main reason why I asked Henrik to direct this movie, because I knew he knew music. He's into music. He loves music. He understands music, and that was an absolute demand.
혹시 감독님도 여기에 대해서 좀 더 덧붙여 말씀해 주실 게 있으실까요?
The music was the most important part of this whole film. I was always a big fan of Uye and his music. And I heard the album, I loved the album, and there was a lot of music in the performance, the play that they did. And the whole idea was always to make a film with lots of music. It was just trying to find a way so that the music adds to the story and it doesn't start or stop the story. That was the main thing. And doing the musical bits, like the small videos we made in the film, was the most fun I had. I love doing those because I love their music. I love his music. They're very good.
네. 약간 그 어떤 장면 이야기를 하셔서 저도 좀 흥미롭게 재밌게 봤던 장면 중에 그 라디오 DJ, 우예가 극 중에서 라디오 DJ로 등장을 하는데요. 그때 그 사연을 보내온 분들, 청취자들의 사연 중에 보니까 약간 뭐라고 해야 될까요? 그 사회적인 약자나 또 어떤 빈곤층 이런 분들을 혐오하거나 부정하는 그런 멘트를 많이 하는 사연자들이 있더라고요. 이런 어떤 에피소드라든지 아니면 이제 우예가 딸 아이와 함께 딸의 학교에 가서 이제 학부모들을 만나면서 늘 항상 이렇게 듣는 질문이 있는데 어디 사세요? 자가입니까? 이런 질문들을 들으면서 그 브레댕이라는 곳을 언급을 합니다. 이곳이 어떤 곳일지 좀 궁금한데 이런 어떤 장면의 좀 디테일한 부분들을 두 분께 좀 여쭤보고 싶었습니다.
Bredäng is a suburb to Stockholm, and it's relatively poor, and it's not a suburb where you want to live. It's a suburb where you end up living. And therefore you have to defend your choice to continuing living there as a middle-class person, as I am. And that's why the issue always comes up in the discussion, and people are amazed that a person like me or Oje in the movie lives in Bredäng.
Regarding the radio call-inners, the people that call into the radio, there's a lot of radio and television shows today in Sweden, and I'm sure all around Europe anyway, where people call in and they're angry about the little things in life, and they're usually upset with stuff that is different from themselves, let me put it that way. And also lately Sweden has also become also suffering a bit of that whole sort of right-wing populist trend or wind that's blowing through Europe and the Western world right now. So we just wanted to show. It sounds a lot like that on Swedish radio. So it's an actual sort of. I think it's quite a correct picture of what it sounds like when you let people call in and say whatever they want. So that's what we did it.
네, 이제 마지막 질문을 드리겠습니다. 이 영화를 보는 관객분들께 좀 이런 부분들을 조금 더 주목해서 보면 이 영화가 훨씬 더 재미있을 거다. 혹시 그런 좀 가이드를 주실 만한 게 있으실지요? 혹은 뭐 이 영화를 통해서 조금 더 관객들에 전달하고 싶은 바가 있으셨다면 말씀을 들어보고 싶습니다.
We are very, very happy that it's shown in Korea, and I'm amazed that film is such an international art form. That this film, that I think is a very, very Swedish film, is shown at the other side of the world. It's mind-boggling. I think it's great. I mean, I've been doing music all my life, and I sing in Swedish, and not a single person outside Sweden or maybe Norway has ever heard my music. And suddenly I do a movie, and you put subtitles, and then a Korean person can feel the feelings that the Swedish people feel when they see the movie, and I think it's a miracle.
We sound like we're from the 1920s and someone just invented an airplane, and we're just amazed that the thing flies.
이게 바로 영화의 힘인가? 라는 생각도 좀 들고요. 한국의 관객분들도 두 분의 작업을 통해서 스웨덴 사회 또 스웨덴 영화를 좀 볼 수 있는 새로운 기회를 갖지 않을까 싶습니다. 어떤 귀한 시간을 마련해 주셔서 정말 감사드립니다.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. This was fun. We love that you take our little film so seriously.
And we hope to visit Korea sometimes in the future.
감사합니다.
Bye bye.
감사합니다.